Welcome to Akhand Vidyashram, the first institute of impeccable wisdom, the walking, talking, encyclopedia. Blood pressures, the science of perfect human blood pressure. My mission, the impeccable wisdom, knowing which everything is fully known. My greatest discovery, Divyank, the divine design of nature with which the perfect objects are designed and created. Divyank is the reward of 60 years of integrated education. Impeccable wisdom is enlightening, and integrated knowledge is empowering. Now, let's understand the concept called blood pressure. What does it mean? The pressure exerted by the free flowing stream of the blood on the lateral walls of the blood vessel is called blood pressure. And the different types of blood pressures, let's talk about it. First is systolic blood pressure, the maximum blood pressure during the cardiac cycle. The perfect value is 120 millimeter of mercury. Diastolic blood pressure, the minimum blood pressure during the cardiac cycle. The perfect value is 74 millimeters of mercury. Pulse pressure, the difference between the systolic blood pressure and the diastolic blood pressure is called pulse pressure. The perfect value is 120 minus 74 is equal to 46 millimeters of mercury. These are the three well-defined descriptions to start with. To me, what is more important is the mean arterial blood pressure, which is very vital from every angle. It defines the perfusion pressure for all the vital organs of the body. It is uniform for the vital organs. It has to be maintained, and the perfect value is 93 millimeter of mercury. If someone can maintain 93 millimeter of mercury for rest of the life, take it from me, the person is perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise and happy. He has a perfect homeostasis. He has nothing to worry at all. Maintaining 93 millimeter throughout the complete period is what I am trying to drive at, and that is what the objective of this particular video is. This is particular video is 109, where applied aspects would start appearing hereafter systematically. The first one is the blood pressure, because very important as far as life is concerned. Note, it is calculated by adding 1/3 value of the pulse pressure to the diastolic. That is what is taught in the books, and for me, that is not the perfect answer. Why 1/3 of the pulse pressure? Nobody has explained. Now, what could be the perfect value? I call it Divyank, integrated perfect value. It is diastolic blood pressure, which is 74 plus 38.196% of pulse pressure. As a result, you have 93 millimeter of mercury. These values should be understood, comprehended, and applied for the rest of your life. At this particular juncture, let me add some concepts which would be very important for everybody to maintain blood pressure. When you increase the water content of the body, rehydration, it is a systolic blood pressure which is going to go up. When there is a dehydration, it is a diastolic blood pressure which goes up. Maintaining the systolic and diastolic together is something which leads to mean arterial blood pressure of 93. That should be the focus. So, amount of hydration should be optimal, no dehydration. Maintain the blood picture very clearly. Thou shalt have no problem with respect to blood pressure. So, Amrit, the nectar, for everything, what I understand to Sanatana Dharma is water, water, and water, and which is 61.8034%. If Earth has got that water, human body has got that water, and cells of that water, and I can assure you the person would be perfectly healthy from every angle, and this can be maintained throughout your life. I would not, let's take children out. And I'm not concerned about the elderly. From the age of 18 or 21, right up to your old age, if you can maintain blood volume content 61.8034%, and have all the balance within that and be perfectly physically healthy, eat sattvic diet, and have no drugs or anything whatsoever, and you are physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, socially, religiously, otherwise totally integrated, you are like a karma yogi all your life, thou shall have no problem of any physical health, emotional, mental, or otherwise for the rest of your life. This objective is only from that point of view because I want everyone to be like that. And this is what I have tried to understand as a medical doctor, as a scientist, as a spiritual scientist. And I'm trying to prove it can be done. And I'm a living example of that. I'm 73 and I think I've done very well from that point. Now, I'm going to explain a concept which happened to me way back in 1984. October 31st, 1984, I suddenly got up at night. I had no idea about the reason because I normally don't get up at night. I go to sleep and get up morning as normal as early. But during that period, I used to get up around 4:30 to 5, which incidentally today I get up at 3:30. As I got up, I went to my fridge to drink cold water from a bottle. Right up to 1984, I was used to drinking cold water from fridge directly. But after this incident, I stopped that. Why did I stop? Let me explain. As the water touched my throat, I started experiencing intense panic attack, mental tension, increased heart rate, and really felt uncomfortable for no reason whatsoever. When I got up, I was perfectly fine. Went to the fridge, no problem. Very moment cold water touched my throat, I got. At that particular juncture, I did not understand what exactly was happening. But today I know what happened. Let me explain from this. When you get up at night like this, your normally body is warm, and when you suddenly expose a warm temperature to suddenly cold temperatures, you are creating shock within the body. And that shock is the responsible, I call it the first panic attack. I experienced intense swing in my heart rate. I drove to emergency department Raipata General Hospital for an emergency assessment of the case. Dr. N. Sivakraksham, an emerging cardiologist, and my batchmate tested my blood pressure and ECG, result an increase in blood pressure and heart rate. I rested for a short period of 30 minutes. I requested that test be repeated again. The result, my blood pressure and heart rate became normal, and cold water had thrilled my sympathetic system. This is what I understand today. But having experienced that, and I was going through the process of setting up a new building, new pharmaceutical industry, new things altogether, and my children's education, this education, practice one side, pharmaceutical one side, a multi-dimensional thing, may have created some sort of stress, which I did not know. But as a result, I was advised by Dr. Sivakraksham to take Valium 5 for a month. I took for a month. Then he asked me to take for one more month. I took. But after 2 months, I told him very clearly, come what may, I am not going to take any tranquilizer for whatever reason is. I am not getting into drugs of any nature as a medical doctor to have a problem at a later. Blood pressure, no blood pressure, tachycardia, no tachycardia. This is not my treatment. I took the tablets and threw into the Dutch. I said, no way. And mind you, it's 40 years since I've ever touched anything which could create inhibition of any nature as far as the mind is concerned. And I'm glad that I did way back 40 years ago. Having done that, now let's go to the next stage to understand the concept very clearly so that I can help everybody why to keep away from drugs of any nature, whether it is smoking, alcohol, drugs, anything for that matter, which is not a part of homeostatic functions of the body, should be avoided. And that's the message which I'm giving from the day one. Anything which is a part of the perfect human anatomy, perfect human physiology, perfect human biochemistry, perfect human psychology should be the criteria. Anything other than that is not the criteria. And I think I'm a living example to prove if you flow with Ayurveda, You flow with perfect understanding anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, psychology one side. You understand everything and implement day by day, every step by step, a perfect life. You can be as alert, as effective, as prominent, even as you grow older and older. Memory will be there perfect. You can reproduce the things much better, which you would have never expected otherwise. From that angle, my life has been a beautiful example where I'm able to produce 8 hertz predominant alpha frequency throughout the brain with eyes open, eyes closed, is something no one in the world has done. I have given the world Devyank, the divine design of nature, for the first time in the history of mankind. I am showing what is the perfect anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, psychology, and how to use it and lead a perfectly healthy life. And that is what has been the central theme of my life. And I'm sharing for the love of it. Now it's up to people to believe it, try it, and work it out. But I know if you are used to many other things, you remove that first, then give more than enough time to work on to produce the kind of perfection which is required. That is the message which I'm giving to this. If you are prepared to be a perfect human being, perfect from every angle, eating only what is required, not more than what is required, having concentration of carbohydrate, proteins, and fat to the content what Divyank suggests, and everything with respect Divyank and Divyank alone is more than enough for you to be a perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise, and happy person for rest of life, whether you are in 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even 100 plus. I can assure you, if this concept is maintained, thou shalt have no problem for the rest of your life. From that angle, now let's get on to the next. Perfect cardiac cycles is what I'm talking about. You have four cells in the human body. Two atriums, left and right, two ventricles. Atrium work as a storage unit like Earth. So ratio is like Earth 1 into 7. Cardiac atrial systole lasts for 0.1 second out of 0.8. Relaxation for 0.7 seconds. 1/7, this is the ratio. Ventricles have systole 0.3 and diastole 0.5. The ratio is Deviant ratio. That is something which I have cleared very clear. And Divyank is a divine design, and that is what I've shown in this picture. If you can maintain Divyank with respect to ventricle, systole, which pump blood to rest of the body, and if you can maintain 5 liters of blood 24/7 for rest of your life, you are through. If you had RBC count is 5 million plus, 16 grams of hemoglobin, and all the blood tests as recommended by this, and incidentally nearing 70 plus, I maintained that as well whenever I was 21. And I've been able to prove that over a period, instead of deteriorating, I have improved a lot of my biophysical parameters, bring it to as perfect as diastolic as I've grown older. If I can do it, everybody else can do it. From that angle, the perfect cardiac cycle is the first thing which I want everybody to understand. Second thing which I want everybody to understand will be cardiac output. How cardiac output works, what are end diastolic plateaus, what are different things, is something which I'm going to talk in the next one to show why cardiac output plays very important role, not here. Now, since we are talking of the atrial blood pressure, let me tell you, your blood pressure should be checked only in the left arm, not in the right arm. And between this, you should, there are perfect ways which should be maintained, and I think I've explained, and I'm sure the books are very clear. Only thing which I want is only left arm, not right arm. Everything systematically correct, and then see for yourself what it is. So all the 4 blood pressure tests I have given, and picture I have given down. In aorta, what is the blood pressure, systolic and diastolic? What is in arteries? What is in arterioles? What is in capillaries? What is in venules? What is in vein? And what is in vena cava? And how it goes. So mean arterial blood pressure 93, diastolic 120, systolic is 120, diastolic is 74, pulse pressure 46, and the ratio of 35 as we go to the pressure should be maintained. If that is maintained, I can assure you, thou shall have no problem with respect to blood pressure, even when you are at 21 or when you are 70, 80, 90, even 100. And I can assure you, people as grow old, everybody says old is nothing but old dehydration. And I fail to understand why should you go through dehydration as you grow old. You can maintain that. As a result, you'll have no constipation, you'll have no water problem, but you have to take water at regular interval as you proceed, as you grow older. You cannot go for dehydration, you cannot do something. As you grow older, you will have to be little more careful that you take things in systematically, step by step, to maintain blood volume of 5 liters 24/7. If you can maintain, thou shall have no problem with the blood pressure, blood volumes, all the concentration, everything be as perfect as I have shown in this. If that can be maintained 24/7, even in 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 100 plus, you lead a perfectly integrated spiritual scientific life, which no one would have ever dreamt. And I want this to be an example for everyone. This is what is required. And the picture right on center one, you can see how blood flow is pressing on the ventricles and vessels, and that is what it is. So I think picture is quite clear how arterial blood pressure is represented. Since we were talking about the panic attack, I have also spoken about ECG, electrocardiograph, electrocardiogenic events, and you have this particular picture is what is seen in ECG for years together. Although they say ECG is something which is very difficult to digest, but this particular picture of L2 is something which I want everybody to understand. In this picture, you can very clearly say first 0.3 seconds is the ventricle systole. The next one is 0.3 ventricle diastole. But as far as auricles are concerned, the first point is about systole, when the blood from atrium is projected into the ventricles through cardiac, the atrial systole. Remaining is a diastole. So atrial 0.1 is the first one, which represent as a P wave. Remaining is ventricles. But after this first three, you have ventricle. After cardiac thing, then only the particular project of ventricle diastole starts, and when that starts, the blood is pushed out into the aorta and into general circulation, and that is reflected as a QRS complex, and that is what the picture is as a ventricle systole after P group. Then after that only comes ventricular diastole, 4 in the last part and 1 in the beginning, to show this is what is the representation is. I want this picture to be very, very clear. If you can maintain this picture and maintain blood pressure of 72, thou shall have no problem for the rest of your life. But let me also, anyway, I'll be explaining something more as we go. From this angle, P, Q, R, S, T, U, if this element is maintained 24/7 for the rest of your life and maintain blood pressure around 72, and also the resting could be even around 60, thou shall have no problem for the rest of your life, and that is the ECG which I'm talking about. Having explained that, the panic attack is nothing but sympathetic overactivity to save you. It is called sympathetic because I save you. When my suddenly hot throat was exposed to intense cold water, it got shock, and that is the time sympathetic system or Ida Pingala had to come to save. As the time to save me from that side effect was a tachycardia, blood pressure and thing. So during exercise and many of those things, you are going to see the increased blood pressure, and you should not really worry about it immediately. After having taken that, don't treat immediately. Wait for half an hour, let things settle down, and then check again and see whether it was because of physiological aspects, psychological, otherwise. is a mechanical, electrical, chemical, or psychic. Once that is ruled out, and then you decide whether it is right or wrong. Although I had suffered from panic attack at that stage, but as on today, my blood pressure is as normal as 120/74. I can maintain that throughout. My heart rate is same, pulse is same, everything is exactly the same the way I would like it. I have not gone through the usual process which everybody is talking about. So I'm talking about the perfect human anatomy. That is what it is. So from sympathetic system is one which saved me. The result was cardiac, increase in cardiac volume, increase in blood pressure, increase in tachycardia temporarily. Once everything settled down, temperature became normal, it settled down to normal, and I had no problem at all. I have experienced this many a time when I'm stretched. So as a result, I don't do anything which is or not physiological in anything. For me, homeostasis maintained 24/7 is more important than doing anything which is not required for a body. This particular picture of 10 stages of cardiac cycle, which I have always been saying, is something which I want everybody to understand. Okay, heart, GIT, and uterus are the one which has been special treatment, and I've been speaking about it from the day one, and this is what it is. And vagus will take care because the right vagus supplies the SA node, and that is the reason why blood volume has to be maintained. All your yogic exercises, 108, are designed to make sure that there is no blocks in any arterial system, venous system, any part of the body. If you can do the yoga asanas, pranayam, meditation, pratikam, everything on one side, have a perfect sattvic diet, have nothing which is artificial, which is not a part of physiological thing, keep at them arm's distance and lead a simple, perfect life. Thou shalt have no difficulty whatsoever of any nature for the rest of your life. And that's the message of my work from first slide to this particular so far. From that angle, let me say it has been a lovely sharing my experience of panic attack way back 40 years, and that would have given a problem to anybody. But over a period, I've been able to bring it to the 120/74, blood pressure, blood volume, everything as perfect as we should be for rest of life, even 70 plus. From that angle, I think it's been lovely sharing my experience with the evidence which I've done, keeping Divyak in mind, keeping all the parameters in mind, and maintaining this for the rest of my life. From that way, it has been very nice. Coming to the last picture, I'm not going to talk about it, but heart has to be maintained very healthy. And many people say that is where soul is, but I do believe it's the ventricles. Anyway, I'll not go into that detail. It has been lovely talking to you about my work. Thank you very much.